Hi, I'm Roger Bradley, pastor of Church on the Rock. Around here, Easter is extremely important to us. In fact, some of the greatest lessons from the Bible we gain from the week before the crucifixion and resurrection Sunday. What would you do if you knew you only had 1 week left to live? Who would you try to mentor? Who would you talk to? What things would you teach? These and other questions are things that we're going to explore over the next few days. This is Passion Week. Join us as we explore these life-changing lessons together.
I happen to believe in this last week of Jesus Christ's life, I happen to believe that everything that is recorded about this week was done on purpose and for a reason. I think Christ knew this is his last week. I think it weighed heavy on his mind. Every day, I think he woke up thinking, this is what's going to happen. Then right down the road, this is right down here. This is exactly what's going to happen. And I believe that every single step that he took was very purposeful and carefully planned. I believe it was cautiously taken. I believe that it was laid out in a way. Think about it this way. How purposeful would your last week be if you knew that it's here? Would you try to make this last week easy, or would you make it purposeful? How about this one? Would you intend for it to be sad, or do you want to declare it to be joyful? Are there secrets that you have that all of a sudden in this last week need to be confessed? Who do you tell? And what do you tell? This is your last week. Do you worry and complain about all the things that you didn't do in your life? Or do you just blow all that off for the things that you've never tried, but you've always wanted to step into? Years ago, I read a book called And the Angels Were Silent by Max Lucado. It's really a very short book, and it's a quick read. The whole purpose of the book is just to look at those last few days, things he did, choices he made, people he saw, secrets he told. Each one seemed to be very deliberate, and every step Jesus made seemed to carry this huge weight of a meaning. Let's walk down this final week. We're going to sit down at the table when he's covered from head to toe in oil. We're going to listen to Christ rant as he clears the temple. We're going to hear some of the final secrets that he told as he walked through the gardens. We're going to stand next to Christ as he begins to oversee and officiate the Passover, that Last Supper. And then we're going to watch from a distance as he's nailed to a cross. And then we're going to come together on a Sunday, because we know Friday is not the end of the story. So tonight, let's look. Luke 19, beginning in verse 28. Beginning in verse 28. Hear the word of the Lord. After telling this story, Jesus went on towards Jerusalem. And walking ahead of his disciples, he came to the towns of Bethphage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives. And then he sent the 2 disciples on ahead. Go into that village over there, he told them. And as you enter it, you will see a young donkey tied there that no one has ever ridden. Untie it. Bring it here. If anybody asks, why are you untying that colt? Just say, the Lord needs it. Now I want you to take just a pen or a pencil if you're comfortable, and just underline it. The Lord needs it. The Lord needs it. Verse 32 says this, so they went and they found the colt just as Jesus had said. And sure enough, as they were untying it, the owners asked them, why are you untying that colt? And the disciples, they simply replied this, the Lord needs it. So they brought the colt to Jesus, and they threw the garments over it for him to ride on. Verse 36, as he rode along, the crowd spread out their garments on the road ahead of him. And when he had reached that place where the road started down the Mount of Olives, all of his followers then began to shout, and they sang as they walked along, praising God for all the wonderful miracles they had seen. Blessings on the King who comes, and in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Verse 39, but some of the Pharisees among the crowd said this, teacher, rebuke your followers for saying things like that. He replied, if they keep quiet, the stones along the road will burst out in cheers. The stones along the road will burst out in cheers. Here's what sticks out to me about this passage. And maybe it didn't stick out to you. Maybe you read it and you get excited about the ride. Maybe you read it and you get excited about the rocks. Maybe you read it and you think about this. But here's what sticks out to me. What sticks out to me is the answer and message that the disciples communicate to the owner of the donkey. Maybe it sounds a little disrespectful, and it's probably not very Sunday schoolish. But I really don't like somebody taking something that's mine. And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that way. And if somebody is taking something of mine and they look at me with all sincerity and they say, well, the Lord needs it, I'm probably going to have a problem with it. I'm just saying. I'm really not exactly sure what my mouth would say. And I don't know that I would be as agreeable as this gentleman was. And while I can appreciate that this story is in the Bible, I really can't understand it in real life. It's really not too believable to me that just anyone would even come up and ask. You don't see someone coming to ask for your car. And certainly I don't think anyone with any sense is going to hand it over. I mean, how do you know it was the Lord, right? He wasn't there. It's just the disciples. Can you imagine what that owner thought? Seriously, do you really think that he got up that morning and said, you know, I think today I'll give away my donkey. Today, I know this is what I come to town with. This is what I do. I'll just give away. I really don't know this there. Can you imagine his friend making fun of him the whole way home? You really think you knew that guy? He just pulled a con on you. Come on, tell me why you really did it. It just seems odd. It just seems odd. Here's my thing. My guess is that when the owner woke up that morning, he didn't have a clue what such a common item, a common object, was going to be used for that day. When he woke up that morning, the plan was not to give away his donkey. He wouldn't have asked the question if it was. It's just a donkey. It's a common object. It's just a car. It's a common object. It's just a pen. It's a common object. I don't think he had a clue how that common object would be used in such an uncommon way. But he's really not the only person that's ever happened to, right? The Bible is full of examples of common objects used in really uncommon ways. I mean, look at Moses, right? Let's look at Moses in Exodus 4. I think I've got the scriptures there for you. It says, but Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, the Lord never appeared to you? Then the Lord asked him, well, Moses, what's that in your hand? It's a shepherd's staff, God. Well, throw it on the ground, Moses. So Moses threw the staff on the ground, and it turned into a snake. And then Moses jumped back. Now, I think that didn't even have to be written. Then the Lord told him, reach out and grab its tail. Now, I think that one would have to be written because I ain't going to grab no snake's tail. So Moses reached out and he grabbed it, and it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. Perform this sign, the Lord told him, and they will believe that the Lord is the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. He has really appeared to you. I'm sure that Moses woke up that morning just like he had done many times and grabbed a hold of this stick that he picked up on the wilderness highway somewhere and grabbed a hold of it and didn't think anything special about it. It was a stick. It's a common object. I'm guessing it was probably worn down maybe on the top or where his hand was. Might have even been worn out where it's hit the ground so many times. He had no idea what this common object would be, right? Today it was going to be something more than common. Common objects used in uncommon ways. Can you imagine the thoughts that Moses had when God asked him to use what was in his hand? In his hand. It's just a stick. It's just a stick. And not just Moses. Think about this. Maybe you remember the story of Rahab's robe. I love this story. Absolutely love this story. Joshua had sent spies into the city of Jericho. They had found shelter inside Rahab's house. And while the king of Jericho searched for the spies, Rahab hid them inside the house. When they left, they told Rahab, hang your robe out the window after we leave. Hang it right out there. When our army attacks, have your family inside. They have orders, Rahab, not to harm you, not to touch you, not to touch anyone in your house as long as they see the robe hanging in the window. Can you imagine maybe the last time that she did laundry? She grabbed that old robe. Wasn't nothing left of it. It had been washed to death. She might have even looked at it and said, let's throw this thing away. But something in her mind said, no, fold it up and put it away. It was just a common old robe. I wonder if she ever thought that robe would one day help save her family. How about this common thing? This little manger. We're really not told a lot about the conversations that happened around the manger. We're not told much about how the manger came about, but Luke does record this. Look at here. It says, and while they were there, the time came for her baby to be born, and she gave birth to her first child, a son. There she wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth, and she laid him in a manger because there was no lodging available for them. A manger? A manger? I'm guessing that the owner of that inn never gave it a second thought the day before when he probably used that old manger to feed a cow or slop a pig. I'm guessing the day before, maybe even the morning of, as he is out there feeding the animals, as he is using the manger as it's meant to be, as common as it is, I'm guessing the innkeeper never knew that such a common object could be used in such a powerfully uncommon way. It's just a rickety old manger. These are just a few, right? The Bible's full of common objects used in uncommon ways. Take the slingshot that David held in his hand. How about the basket that Paul used to escape? How about the oil that Mary poured from Jesus' head down to his feet? Over and over again, we find objects and we land at stuff like a cross that landed on a shoulder. These are common things, common objects. And yet God uses them in uncommon ways. I mean, it's just a donkey, right? I'm guessing it smelled like the rest of the farm animals. It's probably, it's just a guess, but it probably was just as stubborn as any old mule on McDonald's farm. I mean, it was just a donkey. What's so special about that one that the Lord needs it? And yet, the question itself gives us the same answer. What's so special about it? Because the Lord needs it. The Lord needs it. What about you? What about you? What do you have that the Lord needs? What have you got held so tightly in your hands that the Lord can use? What is stored over in the corner of your living room gathering dust when it could be used out in the field for plowing and gathering fruit? The Lord needs it. There are things in your life right now, I'm telling you, that the Lord needs, that you have. I will tell you this. It's probably going to cost you something. I'm sure that donkey cost more than a day's wage. To be honest, it probably wasn't cheap. And for you, it might be money that you have to give. It might be. But you know what? It might not be as well. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. I've got a question. Is there someone God has sent your direction that you've been avoiding? Somebody that every time they walk by you, you roll your eyes and say, please, 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 please don't say, how are you? Or that same person that comes out of your mouth and before you even know it, you say, how are you? And you're going, oh, Lord, I wish I wouldn't have said it. But the entire time God's saying, you need to sit down, shut up, and listen. Maybe that's what the Lord needs you to do. It might be something outside your comfort zone, like volunteering for a ministry, feeding the homeless. How about this one? Randomly picking up litter on the highway. What about that? What is it that the Lord needs you to do? There's one thing that I do know. Every single one of us have something to give. You may never know the potential of that one thing until it's used. You see, the owner of the donkey may have never known that one day the King of Kings would be riding on its back. But that's not the point, is it? The point has nothing to do with whether the owner ever figured it out. The point is that he was willing to give. I got an example for you. Take Edward Kimball, name you probably don't know. Kimball was a Sunday school teacher of a bunch of rowdy boys in the 1930s. If Kimball ever really felt like giving up, he never really talked about it. And if you have ever taught any students whatsoever, pretty much any age, much less boys, you know that experience is basically like trying to herd a bunch of cats. But one young man in particular didn't seem to get it. He didn't get it. And so that young man was employed at a local shoe store, and so Kimball went one afternoon to that store. And while Kimball was stocking shelves, or the boy was stocking shelves, Kimball confronted him, and he shared the gospel message and the importance of a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That young man's name, Dwight L. Moody. In a stockroom on a Saturday, Dwight Moody received Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Savior. In his lifetime, Dwight Moody preached on 2 continents where tens and tens and tens of thousands of people were saved and have a saving relationship with Jesus Christ because Kimball saw a need and took the time. But here's my point. The story didn't stop at Moody. That would be a great story by itself, but it didn't end there. You see, actually, that's where the story begins, because under Moody, another man's heart was touched by God. His name was Wilbur Chapman. Wilbur Chapman was known all over as a traveling evangelist. He preached to thousands and thousands. And one day, on an off day from his normal job, there was a man by the name of Billy Sunday, a professional baseball player who happened to attend one of Chapman's meetings. And it was on that day that Billy Sunday got saved. Then Sunday decided, hey, this is an important enough message that I need to quit my job. So he quit his job and he became part of Chapman's team. Chapman then took a job pastoring a church, but Sunday didn't quit. How many people know sometimes those who lead you in the faith get taken a different direction, and then all of a sudden you have to blaze your own trail? Sunday kept going. He kept going, and he began crusade after crusade. And it was under one of those crusades that another man got saved. His name was Mordecai Ham. Now, here's what Mordecai Ham is known for. He was this big, larger-than-life person. He wanted to communicate the gospel message in shocking ways. He would actually rent a hearse and put a coffin in it and drive up or ride up and down the streets. And that's how he advertised his crusades. And it was at one of Mordecai Ham's crusades in Charlotte, North Carolina, that a sandy-haired, lanky young man, then in high school, vowed that he would never go hear this guy preach. Billy Frank, as he was called back then, decided, I do not want anything a part of it. He announced to all of his friends, I'm not going there, but you see, Mordecai Ham had already put the word on the streets that he was going to be preaching directly to the kids. And Billy Frank decided he would go that way. And so it was that night, Billy Frank walked into that crusade, intrigued by what he heard. He decided, I'll come back and hear more. And night after night, he continued to go to that crusade until finally he responded to an invitation and he got saved. You see, Billy Frank eventually became known as Billy Graham. Billy Graham has preached to more people than any other person live ever. More than the Apostle Paul. It is estimated that he has spoken to over 2.2 billion people in his lifetime, and he still goes. Here's my question. The truth is, we will never know exactly how many lives are touched by each one of us. There's an old saying, it says this, listen closely. You can count the apples on a tree, but only God knows how many apples there are in a single seed. Tonight, here's your one question. If the Lord comes up to you and says the Lord needs it, what's he talking about? I know you may think I don't have anything special, but the problem is God's not asking for anything special. He's asking for the common item in your hand because he wants to use that common item, that common object, in an uncommon way.
I just want to say thank you for joining us for this amazing encounter through the life of Jesus, especially during the last few days and weeks leading up to the crucifixion and the resurrection. If this message blessed you, or if you need prayer, give us a shout out. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter, or you can email us at pray@jesusistherock.org. Your prayer requests actually encourage us throughout the week. Let me encourage you, if you'd like to give into this ministry, you can do this easily by going to jesusistherock.org and clicking on the giving button at the top right corner of the screen. While you're there, check out our other messages and blog posts. You have a blessed week. Hope to see you again soon.